For years, Russia treated Crimea as untouchable. It wasn't just another occupied territory. It was supposed to be the crown jewel of Moscow's military presence in the Black Sea. Protected by advanced air defenses, powerful radar systems, naval patrols, and thousands of troops, Crimea was meant to be the one place Ukraine could never truly reach. Missiles could strike it, drones might occasionally get through, but putting Ukrainian operators on the peninsula itself? That was supposed to be impossible. Then came reports of an operation that changed the conversation overnight, not because of the size of the explosion, but because of how it happened. According to Ukrainian officials, an elite team infiltrated occupied Crimea, launched a precision drone strike from inside the peninsula, destroyed a Russian combat aircraft, and disappeared before Russian forces could respond. If those reports are accurate, this wasn't simply another successful attack. It was a warning that even Russia's most heavily defended military stronghold may no longer be beyond Ukraine's reach. And that's exactly why military analysts around the world took notice. Because the destroyed aircraft wasn't the biggest story. The method was. The reported target was Saki Air Base, one of Russia's most important military airfields in Crimea. From this base, aircraft support operations across southern Ukraine and the Black Sea, making it a vital hub for Russian air power. Every aircraft stationed there extends Moscow's ability to launch strikes, patrol the region, and reinforce frontline operations. That's precisely why Ukraine has repeatedly focused its attention on Saki. But attacking the base has never been easy. Russian air defense systems surround much of Crimea. Electronic warfare units attempt to interfere with incoming drones. Military patrols monitor sensitive areas around the clock. On paper, the base should be one of the hardest targets in the region. Yet Ukraine has reportedly managed to strike it multiple times, each attack forcing Russia to ask the same uncomfortable question. If one of our most protected air bases can be hit, what else is vulnerable? According to Ukrainian statements, the latest operation involved weeks of planning. Rather than launching drones from hundreds of kilometers away, the attack reportedly relied on a much smaller, far more flexible approach. A team moved close enough to the objective to launch compact strike drones at exactly the right moment. Timing mattered, because military aircraft are often at their most vulnerable during the brief period before takeoff. Engines are running, fuel tanks are full, ground crews have stepped back, pilots are focused on departure. If an attack comes during those few critical seconds, there is almost no time to react. And according to released footage, that's exactly when the strike occurred. But destroying one aircraft wasn't the real achievement. The operation suggested something far more significant. Ukraine wasn't just finding ways to strike Crimea, it was finding new ways to reach it. And if that capability continues to grow, Russia's biggest challenge may no longer be defending the front line. It may be defending everything behind it. If the reports are accurate, this mission wasn't designed simply to destroy a single aircraft. It was designed to expose a weakness. For years, Russia has spent billions reinforcing Crimea. Advanced surface-to-air missile systems, coastal radar, electronic warfare units, fortified airfields. The peninsula became one of the most heavily defended pieces of territory under Moscow's control. The assumption was simple. If Ukraine wanted to strike Crimea, it would have to come from the air or the sea. But this operation reportedly challenged that assumption. Instead of overwhelming Russian defenses, Ukraine may have slipped through the gaps between them. And in modern warfare, sometimes finding one gap is more valuable than destroying 10 targets. Military strategists often say that wars are won by logistics, not headlines. A destroyed aircraft makes the news, but the consequences behind the scenes are often much larger. One aircraft lost means replacement crews, maintenance teams, investigations, security reviews, aircraft dispersal, additional patrols, more checkpoints, more air defense assets, more manpower. Every successful strike forces commanders to redirect attention and resources, and every resource protecting the rear is one less resource supporting the front. That's the hidden cost Ukraine has tried to impose throughout the war. Not necessarily overwhelming destruction, but constant disruption. This is where asymmetric warfare becomes so effective. Instead of matching Russia tank for tank, or aircraft for aircraft, Ukraine has repeatedly looked for smarter ways to create expensive problems. A relatively inexpensive drone, carefully positioned, can threaten equipment worth tens of millions of dollars. The financial imbalance is striking. Replacing a modern combat aircraft isn't simply about building another airframe. Pilots require years of training, Maintenance crews need specialized equipment. Replacement parts aren't always readily available. Meanwhile, drone technology continues becoming cheaper, smarter, and more precise. It's an equation every military in the world is now studying. But perhaps the biggest impact isn't financial, it's psychological. Imagine serving at an airbase that was once considered secure. Now every takeoff feels different. Every unusual sound raises questions. Every maintenance delay becomes suspicious. Security patrols increase. Aircraft are moved more frequently. Pilots spend more time waiting for clearance. Confidence begins giving way to caution. That may not sound dramatic, but hesitation affects military operations, and hesitation is exactly what special operations are often designed to create. The reported involvement of elite operators also highlights another trend shaping this war. Large offensives attract attention. Small operations create uncertainty. A handful of highly trained personnel, working quietly, supported by precision technology, can force an entire military district to rethink its defenses. History has shown this before. Special operations rarely succeed because of overwhelming numbers. They succeed because they appear where the enemy least expects them. The objective isn't always to destroy everything. Sometimes, it's simply to prove that nowhere is completely safe. And once that idea takes hold, it becomes incredibly difficult to erase. Crimea occupies a unique place in this conflict. For Russia, it represents strategic depth, naval power, and political symbolism. For Ukraine, it remains internationally recognized as Ukrainian territory under Russian occupation. That makes every operation on the peninsula carry significance beyond the immediate military results. Each reported strike becomes both a tactical event and a strategic message. The battlefield isn't only being shaped by explosions, it's being shaped by perception. And right now, the perception emerging is that Ukraine continues finding new ways to challenge Russia's defenses. But the real significance of this operation becomes clear only when you step back and look at the broader campaign unfolding across Crimea. Because this wasn't an isolated incident, it appears to be another piece of a much larger strategy. To understand why this reported operation matters, you have to stop looking at the aircraft and start looking at the map. For nearly 3 years, Ukraine has been fighting 2 wars at the same time, one on the front lines and another deep behind them. That second campaign isn't about capturing cities overnight, it's about slowly weakening Russia's ability to sustain the fight. Every damaged bridge, every fuel depot set ablaze, every command post disrupted, every airfield forced to suspend operations, adds another layer of pressure. Individually, these attacks may seem small. Together, they create a much larger problem, because modern wars aren't won by firepower alone. They're won by keeping that firepower supplied. Military planners often compare logistics to the human bloodstream. Weapons are useless if ammunition never arrives. Aircraft cannot fly without fuel. Repair crews cannot work without spare parts. Troops cannot advance if supplies fall behind. This is why Ukraine has increasingly focused on disrupting logistics rather than chasing symbolic victories. Every successful strike forces Russia to spend time repairing, relocating, reorganizing, instead of attacking. And every delay gives Ukraine valuable time elsewhere on the battlefield. Crimea was once one of Russia's greatest strategic advantages. Today, it is becoming one of its greatest responsibilities. Every new attack forces Moscow to deploy more air defenses, more engineering units, more security patrols, more surveillance equipment. The peninsula now consumes enormous military resources simply to remain operational. And that's exactly what makes these reported operations so significant. Instead of forcing Russia to abandon Crimea, Ukraine appears to be making Crimea increasingly expensive to hold. Sometimes, winning isn't about forcing your opponent backward. Sometimes, it's about making every step forward cost more than they can afford. If you enjoyed this analysis, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. We cover the strategy, technology, and battlefield decisions shaping today's biggest military conflicts. Because understanding why something happened is often far more important than simply knowing what happened. Until next time, thanks for watching.